I'm not saying that philosophically. This is a matter of mathematics, physics, and biology. The chain of events leading to your existence is so long, so fragile, and so wildly improbable that it defies comprehension. We are embarking on an exploration of a single, jarring idea: are humans truly part of the universe's plan? Or are we simply its most astonishing accident? Look at what we are. We build cities that touch the clouds. We compose music that can shatter or heal a heart. We've sent our creations sailing beyond the solar system. We are, by any measure, a wonder. But is this proof of our cosmic significance? Or is it the ultimate act of self-deception? To understand, we must first reset our sense of scale. Not the scale of maps, but the scale of time. Cosmic time. Our universe is 13.8 billion years old. Earth is a newcomer, forming just 4.5 billion years ago. Remember Carl Sagan's cosmic calendar. Compress the entire history of the universe into a single year. The Big Bang happens at the first instant of January 1st. Our Milky Way galaxy forms around March. Our Earth condenses from stellar dust in early September. The first single-celled life emerges around September 21st. Dinosaurs arrive on Christmas Day, December 25th. And humans, Homo sapiens, all of human history, every empire, every discovery, every war, every work of art, fits into the last 14 seconds of December 31st. 14 seconds. On a cosmic scale, our entire saga is less than a blink. A fleeting moment of awareness in an eternity of silent matter. But this is just the frame. The first piece of crazy evidence is this: the universe is suspiciously, inexplicably, fine-tuned. Our reality operates on a set of fundamental constants and forces. The strength of gravity, the power of the nuclear forces, the mass of an electron, the speed of light, the cosmological constant. Here is the simple, terrifying truth: if any one of these numbers were different by even a vanishingly tiny fraction, the universe as we know it would not, could not, exist. Take gravity. If it were slightly stronger, stars would burn hotter and die faster, collapsing into black holes before creating the heavy elements necessary for planets and life. A stronger gravity universe might be a dark, sterile graveyard. If gravity were slightly weaker, matter might never have clumped together to form stars at all. The primordial gas of the Big Bang would just drift apart forever, a cold, eternal, lifeless fog. Or consider the strong nuclear force, the glue that holds atomic nuclei together. If it were just 0.5% stronger, a process called diproton fusion would have happened in the early universe. All the hydrogen, the fuel of stars, the H in H2O, would have fused into helium almost instantly after the Big Bang. No hydrogen means no water. No water means no chemistry of life as we know it. The universe would be a chemical dead end. If the force were 0.5% weaker, it couldn't bind protons together at all. No atoms. Just a chaotic soup of particles. No matter, no chemistry, no chance. The precision required is beyond human analogy. Astronomer Royal Sir Martin Rees described it as being more precise than a marksman hitting a 1-inch target on the other side of the observable universe. So, how do we explain this impossible precision? There are 3 primary doors, and each leads to a staggering view of reality. Door number 1, the multiverse. This is the leading scientific hypothesis. Our universe is not alone. It is one bubble in a vast, perhaps infinite, frothing foam of universes, a multiverse. Each universe has its own random set of physical laws and constants. In the overwhelming majority, the numbers are wrong. Those universes are stillborn, barren, or collapse instantly. But in an infinite ensemble, every possible combination occurs by sheer chance. We simply live in one of the incredibly rare universes where the numbers work. We won the ultimate lottery. We don't live in a designed universe, we live in a lucky one. Our existence is a form of cosmic selection bias. We can only observe a universe capable of producing observers. Door number 2, intelligent design. The simplest explanation: the constants are fine-tuned because a tuner, a creator, a god, a cosmic architect, set them that way. The universe was made with intention, with life in mind as a goal. This provides deep meaning and purpose, answering a scientific, how, with a philosophical or theological, why. Door number 3, we don't know yet. The humble scientific stance. Perhaps these constants are not independent knobs to be turned, but are deeply interconnected by a fundamental, undiscovered law of physics, a theory of everything. The fine-tuning is an illusion of our current ignorance. The numbers could not have been otherwise. Whichever door you find most compelling, the fact of the fine-tuning remains, a foundational piece of evidence that our existence balances on a knife edge of breathtaking improbability. It is the first and most profound reason to question whether we belong here at all. But this is only the prelude. Fine-tuning gets you a universe that can produce stars and elements. It does not get you life. It certainly does not get you a human being. To go from a lifeless, molten rock to a creature that wonders about its own existence requires a second, even more chaotic cascade of luck, catastrophe, and sheer blind chance. That is where our story gets truly bizarre. We left off with a finely tuned universe. A cosmos with the perfect settings for stars, planets, and the chemistry of life. But this is merely the stage. It is a silent, grand, and empty theater. For the play to begin, for life to emerge and evolve into something that can look back at the stars, you need a script written by chaos. You need a sequence of events so violently random, so perfectly timed, and so brutally selective that it transforms the fine-tuning of physics from a profound mystery into a simple prerequisite. Welcome to the biological lottery. This is where the theory that we were never meant to be here finds its most visceral, undeniable evidence. The path from the first spark of life on a molten rock to the conscious, thinking creature you were was not a smooth, destined ascent. Course of extinction-level events, genetic flukes, and cosmic bad luck that our lineage somehow, miraculously, survived. We are not the product of a plan. We are the scarred survivors of a catastrophe. Our earthly story begins not with ambition, but with a chemical accident. Around 4 billion years ago, in the volcanic, water-rich, oxygen-free chaos of the early Earth, a molecule, or a set of molecules, stumbled upon the trick of replication. This was the genesis of life. But for the next 3 billion years, for 3/4 of Earth's entire history, that's all life was. Single cells. Bacteria and archaea, ruling a silent, microscopic world. Evolution, it seemed, was perfectly content with simplicity. Then, around 2 billion years ago, one of the most consequential random events in the history of our planet occurred. One single-celled organism engulfed another. But instead of a meal, it was the beginning of a partnership. The swallowed cell, a bacterium, wasn't digested. It became a permanent resident, an internal power plant. We call these power plants mitochondria. This event, endosymbiosis, was a revolutionary energy coup. It provided a massive, sustained energy boost, breaking the ceiling on what a cell could do and build. And here's the crucial part. Most biologists believe this transformative merger may have happened only once. One freak encounter, one unlikely act of cellular cannibalism that turned into cooperation, set the entire trajectory for all complex life on Earth. Every plant, every fungus, every animal you see, including you, traces its lineage back to that one, random lunch date. Without it, Earth might still be a planet of peaceful, simple microbes. Yet, even with this new power, complexity was hesitant. For over 1 billion years, evolution seemed stuck in a rut. Scientists call this the boring billion. Then, about 540 million years ago, in a geological blink of an eye, the rules changed. The Cambrian explosion. Within a mere 20 to 25 million years, the fossil record erupts with almost every major animal body plan we know. It was an evolutionary supernova. What triggered it? A sudden rise in atmospheric oxygen. The accidental development of a genetic toolkit, the Hox genes, that acted like a master blueprint for building bodies. We don't know for sure. But it represents another bottleneck, another improbable leap. Life had won another cosmic lottery ticket. For the next 300 million years, life experimented. The stage was now set for the long, dominant reign of the dinosaurs. For over 170 million years, they were the unquestioned masters of the planet, massive, diverse, supremely adapted. Mammals, our ancestors, did exist. But they were small, furtive, shrew-like creatures. They lived in the shadows, active at night, scurrying underfoot. They were an evolutionary afterthought. A minor subplot. The future, by all appearances, belonged to the reptiles. Then, 66 million years ago, the universe pressed the ultimate reset button. It was a rock, an asteroid roughly 10 kilometers wide, the size of a mountain, traveling at 20 kilometers per second. It struck what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The impact released energy equivalent to over 1 billion Hiroshima bombs. It excavated a crater over 100 miles wide and 12 miles deep. The immediate effects were biblical. A global fireball incinerated everything within hundreds of miles. Tsunamis miles high scoured coastlines. But the real killers were slower, more insidious. The impact vaporized trillions of tons of sulfur-rich rock and launched it into the upper atmosphere. It ignited worldwide firestorms, pumping soot into the sky. This shroud of dust and ash blotted out the sun, not for days or months but for years. Photosynthesis collapsed. The base of the planetary food web vanished. In the ensuing, impact winter, global temperatures plummeted. Acid rain poisoned the seas. 75% of all plant and animal species on Earth were wiped out in this geological instant. The age of the dinosaurs was over, terminated not by a rival, but by a random piece of space debris on a blind collision course. And here lies the detail that chills the blood. The asteroid did not have to hit where it did, or when it did. Geological evidence suggests if it had arrived 30 seconds earlier or 30 seconds later, it would have struck the deep Atlantic or Pacific Ocean. A deep water impact would have been less geologically devastating. The climate-altering dust plume would have been smaller. The catastrophe would likely have been survivable for the dinosaurs. And mammals would have remained in the shadows, possibly forever. Our existence hinges on a 30-second window in a day 66 million years ago. We are here because of a timing error in a cosmic strike. But our mammalian ancestors survived. Why? Not through superiority, but through a lucky combination of marginal traits. They were small, requiring less food to survive the long famine. Many had fur or hair, providing insulation against the global chill. And crucially, many lived underground or in burrows, which provided shelter from the initial firestorm and the years of nuclear winter that followed. They were the ultimate disaster survivors, not the kings of the world. From the ashes of that impact, mammals exploded into the ecological niches left gapingly empty. But our specific branch, the primates, was just one twig on a vast and growing mammalian tree. Our journey to becoming human was a meandering path littered with near extinctions. Genetic studies of our own DNA reveal multiple population bottlenecks, times when our ancestral numbers dwindled to the very brink. One such crisis occurred around 900,000 years ago. Hominid populations collapsed so severely that some studies suggest the total number of breeding humans may have fallen to around 1,300 individuals. For context, that's fewer people than live in a small village. We were an endangered species, clinging to survival in a few isolated pockets of Africa. One more severe drought, one new pandemic, one shift in predator behavior, and the thread would have snapped. We were a heartbeat from oblivion. Once again, the cruel sculptor was climate change. As ice ages pulsed and retreated, the landscape of East Africa oscillated violently between lush forest and arid grassland. This volatility was the pressure cooker of our evolution. It forced our ancestors out of the receding trees and onto the open savanna. It pressured them to stand upright to see over tall grass, to free their hands for carrying tools and food. A stable climate might have left us as clever apes in the forest canopy. A variable, punishing climate kicked us relentlessly down a new, precarious path. Then came the final, most bizarre leap, the human brain. Why did it triple in size in just a couple of million years? The dominant theory points to a self-reinforcing loop, the social brain hypothesis. As we got slightly smarter, we formed more complex social groups. Navigating those groups, forming alliances, detecting cheaters, communicating, manipulating, required even more intelligence. This cognitive arms race, supercharged by the discovery of cooking, which unlocked a massive influx of energy from our food, turbocharged our brain growth. But it was a devil's bargain. To walk upright, we needed a narrow pelvis. To house a bigger brain, babies needed bigger skulls. The result? Childbirth became a uniquely dangerous, painful, and often lethal ordeal in the animal kingdom. We traded biological efficiency for raw processing power, a desperate, high-stakes evolutionary gamble that left us fragile, needy, and perpetually anxious. So, let's review the biological gauntlet. A 1 in a billion cellular merger. A mysterious evolutionary explosion after a billion-year pause. A dinosaur-killing asteroid hitting in precisely the wrong place due to a 30-second timing error. Repeated brushes with total extinction, shrinking our ancestors to a tiny village. A violently changing climate that forced us from the trees. A risky evolutionary bet on a giant, energy-hungry brain that makes childbirth a trauma. At every single critical junction, our continued existence hinged on disaster, luck, and compromise. This is not the story of a destined heir ascending a throne. This is the story of the last applicant standing after a series of cosmic elimination rounds. We are not the chosen ones. We are the ones who weren't deleted. But the strangeness doesn't end with our biology. Because once we finally arrived, battered and improbable, we did the most unexpected thing of all. We developed a mind that could look back on this violent, chaotic history and ask, what does it mean? We became conscious of our own improbability. And that very consciousness now forces us to confront the next, and perhaps most profound, piece of the puzzle, our utter and echoing silence. The fact that in a universe seemingly built for life, we appear to be completely, terrifyingly alone.
We saw a planet where life, against all odds, clawed its way to intelligence through a gauntlet of catastrophes. Taken together, it creates an expectation. If the universe is so welcoming, and if life is so stubborn, then the cosmos should be teeming. It should be a vibrant galactic community, filled with the radio whispers of a million civilizations. The night sky should be a map of inhabited worlds. But it's not. We look up, and we are met with a silence so deep, so absolute. It is louder than any explosion. This silence is our third and perhaps most unsettling piece of evidence that we were never meant to be here. It's called the Fermi paradox, and it asks a devastatingly simple question. Where is everybody? Physicist Enrico Fermi posed it over lunch in 1950. Given the age and size of the universe, even if intelligent life is exceedingly rare, it should have arisen somewhere else millions, even billions of years before us. A species with just a few thousand years head start would have technology indistinguishable from magic to us. They should have colonized the galaxy, or at the very least, their signals should be everywhere. And yet, we detect nothing. No probes, no transmissions, no megastructures. Just the cold. If the great silence tells us we're cosmically alone, then our own minds present the final paradox. Consciousness. Why does the universe need subjective experience? Why do we feel? Evolutionarily, pure problem-solving intelligence, like a super AI, should suffice for survival. But we have an inner universe of pain, beauty, love, and existential dread. This hard problem of consciousness suggests our self-awareness might be an accidental byproduct, not a selected trait, a glorious, burdensome fluke. This makes us uniquely fragile. We are the universe, awake and afraid of the dark it finds itself in. We now hold the power of our own potential filter, climate collapse, rogue technology, nuclear folly. Our improbable journey, from fine-tuned constants to asteroid survivors to the only voices in the silence, grants no safety. It only grants a choice. The evidence suggests we were never meant to be here. Therefore, our purpose isn't given. It must be forged. We are the universe's way of understanding itself, but only if we survive. We must become our own reason for being. The ultimate test is not whether we can find others, but whether we can avoid becoming the reason the silence continues. Our future is the final, unwritten piece of evidence. We've reached the final question. If the evidence points to our existence as a cosmic accident, a series of statistical miracles ending in profound solitude, then what is the point? The point is that there is no point, not a pre-written one. And that is the most liberating, terrifying, and powerful truth we could ever grasp. The universe, in its 13.8 billion years, did not evolve to produce us. We evolved to survive it. We are not the destination. We are a possibility that occurred. And now, for a fleeting moment, we hold the pen. The unwritten evidence is everything we do next. Our purpose is not to fulfill a destiny, but to create one from the raw materials of our impossible luck. To take the fragile gift of consciousness and use it not just to wonder at the silence, but to fill it with meaning we define. We must become the stewards of our own miracle. To protect the pale blue that against all odds bred us. To navigate the great filter not as a doomed species, but as architects of our own continuation. To build a future worthy of the astronomical odds we defied. We were never meant to be here, but we are. And because we are, we have the only thing that matters, a choice. To be the universe's greatest accident or its greatest story. The choice itself is the meaning. Let's make it count.